My husband did not believe in burning bridges, not in business and not in personal relationships. It was a great quality and one that served him well. I have tried to emulate it through the years. And then I learned that there's another side to that coin. It's the secret of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was born about 350 years before Christ. And he had a great and burning desire to stretch his father's kingdom to the outer edges of the world. He was 20 when he inherited that kingdom, a pup by today's standards, and he set out to achieve that goal. Well, in order to achieve that goal, he had to conquer Persia. Well, his boats landed on the shores of Persia, and he had one of those uh-oh moments that we've all had in the process of trying to achieve a goal or a desire that is really bigger than we are. And the uh-oh moment comes when we realize that we are facing an obstacle that there is really no feasible way that we can achieve or go through. So Alexander thought for a moment, and finally he turned to his men and he said, burn the boats. He said, today we either go home in Persian boats or we die on these shores. Well, the rest is history because he did not die on those shores. Well, I have had a similar, well, not really similar, I haven't gone out and conquered any countries or burned any boats, but I did have a similar situation in my life, and it was when I was 59. And this is a lot of years ago, by the way. But when I was 59, I had been looking in the mirror, and all I could see was this old woman, gray hair, lots of wrinkles, and all I did was whine. I had no value left to the world, and what was I going to do? Well, my daughter, I think, really got tired of listening to me whine about it, and she suggested that we blow on the embers of my life by facing my greatest fear. Well, my greatest fear was heights. I really didn't have any great and overwhelming desire to face that fear. But she said, why don't we go skydiving for your 60th birthday? Well, before I could stop it, the word okay came out of my mouth, and I had in fact just burned my first bridge, burned my bridge, burned my boat, whatever. And for the next year, anybody and everybody that would stand still long enough, I told that I was going to go skydiving for my 60th birthday. Well, at the end of that year, I had told so many people that I didn't have a choice but to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I was not going to be branded a coward by anyone. I don't think I could have ever done that had I not burned every bridge and burned every boat. Well, what I learned in that process was that I could face my greatest fear. I will tell you today, it's still my greatest fear. I'm still terrified of heights. But I also know that I can act with courage in spite of it. But it begs the question. You know, I look at this world that we live in, and Alexander the Great faced he faced Persia, and he made a decision that allowed him no retreat. He had no choice but to go forward. You know, I did the same thing when I wanted to go skydiving. But it begs the question, what would this world look like if we all had that kind of courage? If we all had the courage to believe God that we were exactly who He said we were, that we believed God that He had gifted us with gifts and talents and personality and purpose, and that His greatest desire, the thing that gave Him enormous pleasure, was to live His life through those gifts, talents, purpose, and personality. Think about it for just a minute. What would the world look like? I think it'd be a pretty cool place. I think it would be a place of peace, a place of joy, a place of great creativity. But most of us are stopped by fear. We look in the mirror and we see somebody we think is too old, or too young, or too skinny, or too fat. We look around and we don't have the money, we don't have the finances, we don't have something. We think we are not enough. I am here to tell you today that you are enough. I am enough, you are enough. If you are in Christ, you are enough for anything He has called you to do. Will you trust Him with that? Will you trust Him with living through you to fulfill all the things that He has put in your heart. If you do that, it will be a but God moment in your journal where you get to glorify God for the desires, the dreams, the gifts, the talents, the purpose, everything He has put into you, and the courage to live them out. Go change the world.